Welcome in, everybody, to the high. This is the high noon rant today. Started right at 12 o'clock. Hit that timer button. Welcome into the rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday. Been doing it for 20 years now. Sure, dating all the way back to the early 2000s. Now I've been doing this for 3 years. 3 years every day, Monday through Friday. I run through all the hot topics, current events, trends, whatever it is that's happening in the world. I bring it to you. I try to give it to you without the partisan lens that you hear in most forms of talk radio. I'm not a partisan guy. I'm not a political guy. I'm just a dude who sits here in the world and looks at shit and calls it out as I see it. Again, not carrying water for any one individual group or interest, just, my own narcissistic view of the world. We do it every day. We welcome normal people. This is talk radio for normal people, not weirdos, not people who, as we say, have been kicked off airplanes, not people who have gotten arrested at Target for fighting, not people who are banned from their family dinners. That's right. That's another big one. If you're not allowed anymore at like Thanksgiving, or you just, you're you're missing out on a cousin Timmy's graduation party that you didn't hear about, but somehow everybody else did. You're not allowed to listen to this show. This show is for normal people. This show might not even be for people who put yard signs out. I am right now, here we are a couple of weeks from the election. I am trying to figure out if people who in 2024 still feel the need to proselytize their political interests by putting yard signs out. I'm still trying to figure out if those people are normal or not. And I got to be honest, I'm thinking they're not normal. I'm thinking a normal person takes the temperature of the air and goes, it's nobody's business how I'm voting. That's how I think a normal person. But, we still have yard signs. I do a lot of dog walking. I walk the dog a lot. I see a lot of yard signs. in the neighborhood that I spend my time up and down the blocks. University Park, Texas. No surprise there. Trump is winning. But I'll tell you, there are way more Harris signs than one would think. Must be all them SMU liberals. Also, I'll tell you one, maybe not reflective of the presidential race, but the Senate race. Colin Allred has a lot of support. I don't know if the top of the ticket is going to see this support, but there is a lot of support for Colin Allred in University Park. I mean, there's a couple Ted Cruz signs, but Colin Allred is winning in University Park, Texas, which is very strange. Okay, what else do we have to do today? I'll explain how the show runs. The show runs, well, first of all, by you. That's right, gratuities, tips, 3 years. Your little, drops in the bucket every day has kept this show going, so I appreciate that. We're going to leave the banner down there. You see it. It's got the Cash App and the Venmo if you want to support this kind of talk radio. Again, talk radio that seeks not to divide, but to just unify us and pointing out the weirdos. That's what we do here. That's it. That's got to be as unifying as anything else, right? Just like randomly pointing out the people that aren't allowed to listen to this show. That's good. That'll work. I don't know if that's going to be great for growth, but we like it. How's the chat room doing today? Let's say hi to my chat people. We got Chuckles in there. Chuckles representing OU this Red River weekend. Number 1 Texas taking on what are they, 18? Is that what OU is, 18? God, I got to be honest. It would be cool if OU came down here and thumped them. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be this is, in my 20 plus years of, before 2001, I had heard that there was a rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma, but I'd never really experienced it until I came down here. And my very first weekend down here was Red River. We were living in a funky hotel and people were like, come on, we're taking you to the game. It was fun. It was crazy. Couldn't believe it. I'm like, is this all for the game? And they're like, no, there's also a fair going on. And I'm like, a fair? And they're like, yeah, the State Fair of Texas. Learned about that my first weekend too. What a cool weekend for Dallas, though. What an excellent weekend. This weekend in Dallas is like the way I feel about Aaron Water Show weekend in Chicago or Lollapalooza weekend in Chicago or the way it used to be Cubs White Sox weekend in Chicago. They don't do that anymore. And now the Cubs play the White Sox in April on like a Tuesday. There was a couple of years where they did Cubs White Sox weekend over 4th of July weekend, and it was insane in the city of Chicago. But alas, this is about Dallas, Texas, and it's Red River weekend. Number 1 versus number 18. There have been a lot. I'm like, there's there have been some games. I remember one particular game that I think Oklahoma won like 70-0. It was like ridiculous. It was like so lopsided. And then of course, was it? Well, yeah, it was this game 2 years ago when my Chicago Bears quarterback Caleb Williams came off the bench for Oklahoma to lead a comeback, an unbelievable comeback, a college comeback for the ages. I remember that a couple years ago. Anyway, this will be good. This will be a good weekend. I'm of course rooting for Texas because my son and all that stuff. But it would be cool. It would be kind of cool if Oklahoma. Here's why. The polls are like insane this year, college football polls. And we won't get into the weeds on this because we don't do. I always get afraid when I start talking sports too much. That's because of Kelly. Kelly used to do that to me. You're talking sports too much. Okay. All right, fine. Let's chick it up. What do you want to talk about now? Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Okay, let's do that. But the polls, the college football polls have been nuts. They're just like everybody last week screwed everything up. We don't know who's who anymore. I thought, honestly, and I know I'm a little biased, but I thought Notre Dame at the start of the season had an opportunity to go undefeated, and then they lost to Northern Illinois. What? So it's crazy. Anyway, this weekend, this will be a good game. How big of a favorite is Texas? I don't know. We don't have legalized gambling here in Texas, so why would we talk about it? The show, as I present it to you, is a stream of consciousness, which means it's just me speaking unrelentingly for the next 2 hours or until I just pass out from exhaustion. The stream of consciousness does have some guardrails. I present the show to you in 4 quarters. First one is a segment that we call Antecedently on This Day. What that is this day in history. Nothing more, nothing less. Quarter 2, birthdays, people, notable quotables, celebrities, people who we know from history or whatnot. We look at them and we decide, are they cool or do they suck? Are they deserving of a happy birthday? That's what we do in quarter 2. Quarter 3 brings us to people who died on this day, celebrities, people from history again, notable quotables, if you will. But in this case, we decide based on their lives as we understand them, where'd they go? Did they ascend to heaven or did they fall tumbling towards hell? That's quarter 3. Then quarter 4 is all of the hot topics, current events, headlines, Milton, Israel, Diddy, all the stuff that's happening today that you need to know about. Small talk segment. Let me say hi to the chat room. We got Peter hanging out. Hi, Peter. Love my guy, Peter. Peter says, okay, thank you, Pugs. Would not be cool. Let's just ride the number 1 wave. Wait, did Peter switch? Did Peter just switch his... What? Really? The Horns are a 14.5 favorite. Ooh, that's tempting because of the game. But also, ooh. No, I think I'm gonna take. I don't think I would take 14 points in Oklahoma. No, I don't think so. Alice here. Oh, he says hello, amigo. I say hello, friend. Isn't that it? Basically, let's see. Let's see here. Frankie B is in here. Hiya, Frankie. We also got Peter. Hold on. Again, let me make it big. Who was first? I like to go back to the very beginning in the chat room and say hi to the people who were here first. Is it Taronda? It looks to be Taronda and Peter. Look at them. The very first people in. Humongous is here. He says, John Prine's birthday, going to heaven. Well, okay, but we don't do that for birthdays. Yes, John Prine. We don't. The John Prine question, because his category today would be birthdays, is he cool? Yes, John Prine is very cool. And now we don't have to do it. The postman turned poet. Did John Prine do Perfectly Good Guitar? I'm trying to think, because I know John Prine has a lot of songs that are beloved by many, but he doesn't have many that got radio play. I'm trying to think, is that John Prine, Perfectly Guitar, or is that John Hyatt? Oh man, look at me getting John Hyatt and John Prine confused. Anyway, John Prine I know is the postman from Oak Park. He's a Chicago legend. But did he do Perfectly Good Guitar? I hope he did, because that's a banger of a song. You guys remember that song, Perfectly Good Guitar? Fast Outdoors here. Hiya. Who else is checking in? Anybody else? Where's Jen? Where's Byron? Where's Barney? Where's Jeff? Where's all my people? I can't get started without my real people here. We got KB here. John Hyatt. He's going with John Hyatt. Perfectly Good Guitar. That's a good song. What's John Prine's most famous song? You know, we can't get bogged down. And there we go, though. We've cleared one of the birthdays from the list. John Prine, happy birthday. Small talk segment. Here we go. This is where I talk a little bit about stuff that I did since we last talked. Did a lot of work stuff. That would be boring. You guys don't want to hear about that. Got a real crazy idea that I'm pursuing. More on that to come. ... Watch some episodes of Soap. I know you might be thinking, well, that sounds nice. It is, but it's also, I got to run through the whole series before we start recording this podcast on Soap with Ed. Can't wait for that. That's very exciting. But then in my downtime last night, I ended up, it's been 6 weeks and it's time now. You know, hold on. I got a problem here in the chat room. Ugh, can we go back to the chat? There we go. Okay. So you know about my thing about watching TV, right? Like, even though I grew up in the 80s and 90s, I have been spoiled by the opportunity to binge watch one episode after another. Therefore, I can no longer watch scheduled TV. I can't do it. Like, if it's like, you know, you watch an hour of your favorite show and you're interrupted by commercials that whole hour, and then they say, now you got to wait a week to get a little bit more. I refuse to do that on principle, because about 15, 20 years ago, they started to show us a new way where we could just binge things. Like, I used to just binging things. So, unfortunately, my favorite show on television, Slow Horses, which is 6 episodes because it's British. The Brits only do 6 episodes. It's pretty cool. Really neat little. Every series, every season is just like a mini series, which is kind of cool. So Slow Horses came back on Apple. Slow Horses is the best show on TV. We're not going to talk about it any more than that, other than just know that it's true. And if you're not watching it, you're missing out. And when you do start watching it, you'll get like 3-4 episodes in and you'll be like, God damn, he was right. This is the best show on TV. Slow Horses came back to Apple TV, but they were doing the whole, here's one, and then next week you'll see the next episode. So I don't play that game. So I just sat in the weeds and waited 6 weeks. And now, guess what? All the Slow Horses for season 4 are posted. And last night I ripped through like 3 of them. Like half the season is gone. God, that show is so great. Also, it's definitely in the conversation with the theme song to Rescue Me by the Von Bondies, Come On, Come On, which is such a great theme song for Rescue Me, and the Sopranos theme song as being the coolest theme song ever. The Slow Horses theme song is Mick Jagger. It's a Mick Jagger song that I've never heard before. But you know his voice, and you're like, oh my God, this is interesting. So you listen to it the first time, and then you're like, man, this is a great song. Here's how you know a theme song to a series is good. When you don't hit skip intro. When the skip intro comes on and you're like Game of Thrones, I skip intro all the time. Screw that. Sons of Anarchy, riding through this world. I skip that bullshit every time. Like, that's just a bad, stupid song. Skip through that, but not Slow Horses, Mick Jagger. Wish I could play it for you, but I can't. It's a good song. And it's not the song Wild Horses. Don't be confused. Because I'm like, at first I'm like, wait, is this a Stone song? Didn't they have a song about horses? And I'm like, oh, that's Wild Horses. This is Slow Horses. Something weird is happening with my chat thing. Why is everything highlighted in the chat? And there we go. Now we got it fixed. All right, what do you say we get started with today's show? Today is the 10th day of October, year of our Lord 2024. There are 284 days past. We've already had 284 days in this year. That means there's only 82 more until the end of the year. So get those New Year's Eve plans started, as we like to say. All right, quarter one, antecedently on this day. This is a look back at all the things that have happened on this day. Things that may give us a little edge as to what to expect. Some things happen in patterns like hurricanes, weather. Let's do that. Antecedently on this day, the very first thing happened. Let's see here. We're going way back on this one. Antecedently on this day in the year 1492, the crew of Christopher Columbus's ship, the Santa Maria, attempt a mutiny. I didn't know that. Did you know there was a mutiny on the Santa Maria? I had no idea. What were the other ones? Oh, here's what I do know. Do you know that, like, we famously think of those boats as like the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, right? Yeah, we're wrong. We're wrong, man. I learned this in high school. There was no boats called the Nina and the Pinta. Okay, those were just nicknames given to the actual boats. One of them was the Santa Clarita, but they called it the Nina because it was littler than the other boats. And then the other one, I don't know what Pinta means, but whatever. I don't know. Anyway, there was a mutiny on board the Santa Maria. And apparently they put that down because Columbus would go on to spread herpes across the entire Caribbean and enslave generations of indigenous people. Antecedently on this day in the year 1957, U.S. President Dwight David Eisenhower apologizes to the Ghanaian finance minister, Kumla Agubeli Gebedema. Not even close. Not even close on the pronunciation. Why did Eisenhower apologize to Ghanaian finance minister? Kamala? And by the way, not spelled like our Kamala. It's not like Kamala. It's not like that. This one is Komla. Kamla Agbeli Gabeni. Why did he apologize? Why did Ike apologize? Because this dude was in Washington doing like big important business. Although, let's be honest, he was representing Ghana. So how important could it have been? He's in town and he goes to a restaurant and he is refused service. It becomes a huge thing. Some Delaware restaurant, like back in 1957, was like, we don't serve Ghanaian finance ministers. Although I don't think that's what they said. They probably didn't even know about his day job. They just, I don't know, saw skin color, I guess. And Eisenhower apologized. He was like, hey, our bad. It's the South, man. What do you want? Came to Washington, D.C. We set up shop in the South. These things are going to happen. On this day, antecedently in the year 1973, U.S. Vice President Spiro Agnew resigns after being charged with evasion of federal income tax. Oh my God, you guys, it was a scandal. He was the worst person in the history of the world. He had to go. There was no way that he could stay as vice president. This is back in the time when people were afraid of the media. This is back in the days when you would fall on your sword as a last resort by resigning in order to save some kind of moral face. Yeah, you did what you did, but look, you're doing the right thing. And that's a message that needs to be sent to everyone. We did that. We did that in politics. We did that in popular culture. We did that for decades. We don't do it anymore. Oh, no. There's too much media. There's always something coming the next day to draw our attention away from whatever we're horrified by today. We'll move on to the next thing. The media has gotten very skilled at that. And so now, and this is what I always give Trump credit for, he taught us this. Whenever somebody drops a scandal at your doorstep, just deny it, and keep denying it until people stop asking, because sometimes absolutely nothing comes of it. They just move on to the next thing. Spiro Agnew could have been president of the United States. Spiro Agnew, had he not gone, yes, I did, I cheated on my taxes, and stepped down from the vice presidency, he would have ascended. He would have ascended after, Nixon had to step down. So instead, Ford got to be president. Could have been Spiro Agnew. He fell on his stupid sword, when in reality, all he had to do was say, fake news, Democratic media, this isn't even real. What do you mean I was convicted of tax evasion? That's not true. Who's reporting that? or something like that would be all he would have to do for a couple of weeks now, and he'd be fine. Spiro Agnew would have been president of these United States. We'd have had a president named Spiro. We've had weird presidents' names. Rutherford is a weird name. Barack. is a weird name. Antecedently on this day in 1973, Spiro Agnew steps down. On this day, antecedently in 1985, United States Navy aircraft intercepts an Egyptian airliner carrying the perpetrators of the Achille Laurel hijacking. We talked about the Achille Laurel the other day. It was the anniversary of Leon Klinghoffer being tossed overboard by Palestinian terrorists. So what ended up happening was there was a deal that was brokered. And basically they said, we want the plane out of here and we want 10 million in gold bullion. I don't know what they asked for. But they asked for a way out and we gave them a way out. We're like, okay, we'll negotiate. And so they got on a plane and they were flying to Egypt when they were intercepted by United States military. And that plane was forced to land in Italy and we got them. That's how we get them. What do you don't think we're just going to let you fly? Imagine the hijackers. They're in the plane. They think they got away with it. They're like, yeah, now we're going to Egypt and they're going to hide us and we're going to be fine and no one's ever going to prosecute us. And then they glance out their passenger side window and they see like an F-16. Like, oh shit, change of plans. Why are we descending? Like that's got to be the moment, right? When they're in the plane and they're like, why are we landing? Why did seeing the United States military F-16s, why was that followed immediately by us landing? Are we in Egypt already? That must have been horrible. Antecedently on this day in 1985, that happened. Antecedently on this day in the year 2002, the start of the Iraq War. Congress approves the Iraq War. This is 1 year after the Afghani thing, right? Afghanistan, we all understood. The Taliban training grounds for 9/11 terrorists. We understood that. We were there for a year. We had all the equipment in place. we had the infrastructure in the region, and we decided, hey, let's go fight Iraq for what I still believe was no good reason. No good reason, just other than we were there and we saw opportunity, and we went for it. And Iraq War went on. It was horrible. Created all kinds of horrible things, ISIS and the whatnot. Iraq is still a cesspool, although I guess we're in charge of it. Kind of. Like we got a puppet government in there, you know. No, right side of history, man. Very proud of this. You guys might remember this. Kelly and I refused to go along with the whole Colin Powell at the UN, weapons of mass destruction. We're like, I don't know, man. I don't think that's a reason to really go. And that's not. I was against it from the beginning. Right side of history. I was on the right side on that one. 20 years later. More than 20 years. This was on this day in 2002. I'll tell you how far we went. I told you, Kelly and I had a whole bunch of sponsors that wanted to advertise on our show. And we wouldn't just take anybody. We had to go out to dinner with them and hang out with them because we wanted to do live reads with everybody. We didn't want just canned commercials. We wanted these people to become fabric of the show and blah, blah, blah. So we were selective to a degree. And one of the people that we said no to was the United States military. Around this time, 22 years ago, they came to our show, the Army. They wanted us to do live reads to recruit people for the buildup for the war in Iraq. And we were like, no, we don't want to do that. Sorry. I might be wrong on this, but I do not want people who, and Kelly was really strong on this. She was like, I just don't want people who trust me to be misled because I don't know if it's a good idea for them to join the military. And just because you're going to pay me $75 a spot, I don't know that that's worth me telling somebody who I've met at Duke's who's a 19, 20-year-old kid. I don't know if Aunt Kelly should be telling them to go join the military, right? I mean, kind of admirable. She was an admirable woman. And I fell in line. I was like, okay, she's the smart one. On this day in 2002, the Iraq War, United States Congress begrudgingly, not so much. You'd like to think that it was begrudgingly, but it wasn't. There was a bit of an argument, but they passed this. They went into Iraq, no questions asked. UN had some questions. That's where we got Colin Powell and his charts. Antecedently on this day in 2018, Hurricane Michael makes landfall in the Florida Panhandle as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane. Killed 57 people. 45 in Florida, and caused an estimated $25.1 billion in damage. Never heard of Michael. Don't even know what Michael was. Get 2018, 6 years ago. That's like 12 hurricane seasons ago. By the way, I learned from a meteorologist that when I said, not a meteor, but a weather dork, that when I said that there are 2 hurricane seasons, that's not entirely true. There's not 2 hurricane seasons. There's just 1 hurricane season with like flare ups at the beginning and the end. I'm like, okay, that seems like 2. Yeah, I know. Because you're stupid. That's basically what they said to me. Hurricane Michael. Don't even remember Hurricane Michael. All right, let's move on to the births. Q1 is in the books. These are the births. These are people who were born on this day, and we decide, are they cool or do they suck? Or something to that effect. Born on this day in 1924, Ed Wood. Ed Wood, Johnny Depp played Ed Wood in a movie. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Ed Wood, but Ed Wood was a filmmaker in the 1950s. He was also a cross-dresser. He was one of the original, dudes who were out and were dressing like women, and he had an alter ego named Shirley, and he made bad movies. And it's his birthday. I don't know. I thought the Johnny Depp movie was kind of lame. So, all right, there you go. Ed Wood's not cool because I didn't really like the movie. Born on this day in 1933, Jay Sebring. Jay Sebring was just a fantastic hairstylist. I bet he had some weird accent, even though he was American. Jay Sebring was a Rodeo Drive, Beverly Hills hairstylist to the stars back in the 1960s and 70s. He was also one of the people murdered by the Manson family. He was hanging out with Sharon Tate. He was over at Sharon Tate's house, which was actually Roman Polanski's house, whom the Manson family thought was record producer Terry Melcher's house, but it wasn't. Roman Polanski had purchased it, and Roman Polanski was over in Europe, probably sexing up underage girls while making a movie. And his pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, was at the house, and Jay Sebring was there, and Abigail Folger. Remember her? She's the heir to the Folger, Good to the Last Drop family. They were all there, and they got killed. Jay Sebring, happy birthday. That was weird. That's why you're famous. Born on this day in 1954, he gets up and nothing gets him down. David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth is 70 years old today. Does that make you feel old? Whew. David Lee Roth. My kid loves David Lee Roth. I introduced my kid to David Lee Roth at a very early age because I thought David Lee Roth was like the perfect conduit to him enjoying guitar rock. I wanted my son culturally to be exposed to like guitar rock and the kind of guitar rock that I thought was good. So at an early age, my kid was listening to Van Halen and all of that. And David Lee Roth was, I thought, sort of a good conduit to a little kid enjoying that because he was wild. He was over the top. He was like the clown prince of rock and roll. And my kid loves David Lee Roth to this day. Just the solo stuff. Like my kid without the bias of, well, that wasn't with Eddie, that wasn't Van Halen. My kid's favorite David Lee Roth song is Yankee Rose. No bias or no nothing. Just listens to it and he's like, that song is so awesome. I'm like, yeah, I know it is, right? David Lee Roth, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1954. He's a wild man, very interesting character. Born on this day in 1958, Tanya Tucker. She's kind of the female David Lee Roth, isn't she? Kind of like a wild party girl. Tanya Tucker has an interesting story. Born on this day in 1958, she became a star at 13 years old. She was like little Tanya Tucker. Delta Dawn was her big breakthrough song, if you know that song. She was 13 years old. And, instead of just being relegated to the scrap heap of child stardom, she actually was able to transition into adult stuff. And she was real trampy, like real sexy and like a bad girl. And I think that worked for her. Tanya Tucker, born on this day in 1958. Born on this day in 1959, how about happy birthday to That Guy actor? One of my favorite That Guy actors. I like him in everything that he does, even though I find him to be a little bit hard to take sometimes. I no longer follow him on Twitter because he's a little too over the top, but let's say a big birthday welcome anyway. Happy birthday to the great character actor, ladies and gentlemen, not a member of Aerosmith, Bradley Whitford. Bradley Whitford is not the Brad Whitford from Aerosmith. Bradley Whitford is, of course, the guy from West Wing. You like him in West Wing. Cabin in the Woods. So good in Cabin in the Woods. And any number of other things he did. You know where we first saw him? You know who Bradley Whitford, the first time we saw him? Adventures in Babysitting. He was the asshole boyfriend that was screwing over Elizabeth Shue. Remember him? He had the IROC Z with the license plate. So cool. Bradley Whitford, there he is today. He's a great character actor. I like him in everything that he does. Josh Lyman in The West Wing. Are you kidding me? I hated that character so much that I now love it to the extent that it's one of my favorite all-time characters. Bradley Whitford, born on this day in 1959. Born on this day in 1965, now dead, Chris Penn. Wow. Chris Penn is Sean Penn's brother. He is also Michael Penn's brother. If you're a fan of the pairing of Michael Penn and Amy Mann, which I am. Chris Penn died of a heart attack. Chris Penn was always kind of the slovenly Penn brother. He played thugs a lot in movies. Certainly didn't have the film career and the critical acclaim that his brother did, or even his father, Arthur Penn, who was a writer and a playwright and all that. What can I think? What do I think of when I think of Chris Penn? Good Guy Eddie. Good Guy Eddie from Reservoir Dogs. That's, I think, the perfect role for Sean Penn. Born on this day in Chris Penn. Born on this day in 1965. Born on this day in 1967, Gavin Newsom, governor of California. Here's an interesting guy. Boy, he got sidelined real quick, right? They told him to sit down and shut up. Because I'm telling you, the whole time the people were calling for Joe Biden to step down and be replaced, he was making a lot of speeches. He was presenting himself like he is the obvious choice, and hey, if nobody else wants it, I'll happily step in. He didn't say that. In fact, when he was directly asked it, he would deny it, but he was everywhere. Then Kamala stepped up. Kamala was like, no, I got it. I got it, Gavin. You can sit down, Gavin. I got it. I'm going to take it, Gavin. You cool with that? We have not heard from Gavin Newsom since. He's just like sitting on the sideline going, maybe I'll be Secretary of State. Maybe she'll make me, well, I don't know. Secretary of State would be good. I don't know what else, Gavin. Ooh, Attorney General Gavin Newsom. He'd be coming after some people. Too controversial. Anyway, that's what Gavin's doing. He's sitting nice and he's waiting for a secretary. He's waiting for a cabinet appointment. He doesn't want to run for governor again. Ugh, so tiring. Born on this day in 1967, Gavin Newsom, current governor of California. Born on this day in 1969, one of my favorite actresses. I love this actress. Actually, here's the problem with me loving this actress so much. She's only done one thing. I guess I only love one single character, and I haven't really seen her in anything else, so I don't know if she can do more. Happy birthday, born on this day, 1969, to Joelle Carter. You guys know who Joelle Carter is? Joelle Carter played Ava Crowder on Justified. I don't know. I understand that I am speaking to a cult-like following at this moment, people who have seen the show Justified. I mean, everybody's all about Walton Goggins these days, but nobody wants to remember where it all started. That would be, of course, as Shane Vandrell in The Shield. But then he followed that up with his Boyd Crowder in Justified. Yeah, Walton Goggins has been awesome for a long time. Anyway, he played opposite in Justified. His partner, his girlfriend, his whatever you want to call her, on and off again love interest was Ava Crowder. One of the coolest female characters that I've ever seen portrayed on TV. In fact, if I had to make a list of the coolest bad bitches in the history of TV, I think Ava Crowder as portrayed by Joelle Carter. Ava Crowder as portrayed by Joelle Carter is right at the top of that list. Let's check out some of Ava Crowder. Here's what you have to understand about Ava Crowder. Ava Crowder was married to Bo Crowder. Bo Crowder, the Crowders are the crime family in this little Dukes of Hazzard-like town in Appalachia. She murdered Bo Crowder. Bo Crowder was beating her up and all that shit, and she didn't take that. Ava, as you would come to know, does not take that, and she blew his head off at the dinner table. She then starts dating his brother, Boyd Crowder, played by Walton Goggins, and Walton Goggins' character is taking over the crime organization here in wherever this is. What's it called? What county is it in? I don't know. Anyway. Point is this. Let's watch a little bit of Ava Crowder. She's white trash, okay? Actually, did YouTube just cancel the show? Because I used the word white and trash together. Can't do that, apparently. She's an Appalachian hill folk chick who's hot, but she doesn't try to be hot because she's Appalachian hill folk. Just watch this. I think this is the greatest female character in the history of television. Ava Crowder from Justified. Let's go.
You sure do have some fine cookware, Mr. Gibbons.
Most of it was Helen's. Some from his sister. They both like to cook.
As do I.
Ava, while we appreciate you making this fine meal, I think we would appreciate it even more if you told us what Boyd had to say.
Oh, yeah. Why are you stalling?
Well, you got me, Devil. I am stalling. I just wanted to get some good food in you before I relayed Boyd's orders. Boyd instructed that you burn the weed.
The hell?
That weed's worth $100,000 easy.
Hold on. Can I just point out, as you're looking at Ava Crowder, can I point out she's got a bullet wound in the chest? That's what that bandage is, in the chest. And she's got a broken arm. She don't fuck around. She gets involved.
Boyd's orders. Boyd instructed that you burn the weed.
The hell?
That weed's worth $100,000 easy.
It's also worth 20 years any law enforcement happens by. Hot Rod was our last outlet. We can't just sit on it and hope we run into someone who will take it off our hands. So,
We ain't burning it.
those were Boyd's orders.
Yeah, well, Boyd's not here, is he?
Devil. I can imagine it is hard taking orders from a woman. Only you're not. You're taking orders from Boyd. I'm just passing it along. Now, the way I figure it is, you got a choice. We can play nice. You do what Boyd says, and I keep cooking my fine food. My fried chicken is to die for. The other path, you ignore Boyd, and I get ornery.
What are you gonna do? Spit in our food?
We clear? I need to make my point any more emphatically.
You didn't need to do that, Ava.
Of course I did, Mr. Given. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it.
Ava Crowder, man. Joelle Carter. What do we have? Some kind of argument regarding when she was born? We got somebody in the chat room saying she was born in 72. Well, your source says as much. My source says 1969. Joelle Carter on this day. My source is Wikipedia, which is checked and cross-checked. Your source might be some bullshit PR that she had put out that made her younger. That's why I always use Wikipedia. Wikipedia doesn't play that bullshit. Jenny McCarthy does that. Jenny McCarthy went to high school at the same time as I did. She was 2 years younger than us. When we were seniors, Jenny McCarthy was a sophomore. Okay, she went to Mother McCauley. She was hot. Everybody in town knew her. Not everybody in town, but she was She was hot. She was 2 years younger. And now all of a sudden, Jenny McCarthy's like 10 years younger than me? What happened, Jenny? You're lying about your age? When does that start exactly? Anyway, that's probably the discrepancy with Joelle Carter. We see this a lot in actresses. There are multiple ages given. Wikipedia always has the oldest one. That's why I always go with Wikipedia. Let's see here. Oh, are you guys talking about David Lee Roth when he did Mornings? David Lee Roth, still don't get why it was a great idea to have him replace Howard after he went to satellite. All right, I can talk with some authority on this, as I've spoken with a number of the people who were involved in that decision back in the day. And I mean over drinks and stuff. Like, what the fuck were you guys thinking? Really, what's the So here's what happened with that. Here's why David Lee Roth, and it was always somewhat what I suspected. So when Howard Stern bolted for Sirius XM, he left CBS Radio, the company that I worked for. Kelly! Fuck. I'm telling you, that's her. She's a poltergeist now. She's probably loving it. Something she can do on the Stairmaster in heaven. Hold on, let me hold on, guys. Let's see if we can do this. You know what I should do? I should probably All right, I think that's good. You guys, I can't stress enough how much I believe that the fucking with the mic is actually the poltergeist of Kelly Moore. Here's why. Because it's not all that disruptive, but it's just really irritating to me, which I think is what she's going for. It's not breaking it. I think the cabinet that came off the wall for no reason on the night that she passed away, I think the cabinet was just her making her presence known. And now the fact that I've got a light that only works 50% of the time and a microphone that keeps coming undone, which, by the way, used to be her big critique of me, that I handled the microphone far too aggressively and that, cut it out. She used to say that. Anyway, where were we? We were talking about the David Lee Roth Howard Stern situation as it was explained to me by people in the know. And I was there. It's kind of, at least in the Dallas market, I was there. I know how it was explained to me. So Howard Stern leaves CBS Radio for Sirius XM. Okay. It leaves CBS Radio, who had built an entire nationwide format off of Howard Stern as the anchor, in a lurch. They had nobody now. All of, there was of course, Howard Station in New York. But in New York, they actually created a Howard Station, but without Howard. They just used Opie and Anthony. That was NEW. But then all the other stations that CBS owned across the country, they would use Howard as the morning anchor. Chicago, Los Angeles, Cleveland, Dallas, all, everywhere. So when Howard left, all of these major market stations, which some of them were making big money. We in Dallas were, Chicago was, Los Angeles was, and of course NEW in New York was. All the other ones were kind of struggling. And that was just because of talent, because it takes a specific kind of person to be able to do that kind of talk radio. In a lot of places, like, I don't know, Phoenix, when Phoenix tried it, all they did was they just took a known music jock and said, be crazy. And those people weren't interesting. They were rip-off artists. And so the format itself was really anchored in cities that Howard was dominating in mornings, and he was dominating everywhere. They never thought he was going to leave. They didn't have a really great backup plan because they thought there was no way that Mel Karmazin is going to allow him to leave. And he left. He walked away. Who is his? It was Bob Eatman. Is Bob Eatman? No. Bob Eatman is not Howard's manager, agent. Anyway, whoever it was, they completely outfoxed the president of CBS Radio, Mel Karmazin, at the time. And Howard went and took a huge payday, leaving this gaping hole. Now they had to scramble. Initially, the idea was not a problem. Opie and Anthony, in the New York market anyway, have been the heir apparents to this forever. So why not just slide them in? But and this is where it gets fuzzy for me. I don't remember if in this particular timing of Howard leaving, I don't know if they were maybe suspended. Maybe it was the St. Patrick's Cathedral suspension, whatever it was. But they couldn't slide in right away. And then someone came up with an idea of having a placeholder, someone who wasn't supposed to succeed. And this is what I have always thought. In the entertainment business, especially in radio, there is a thing called a sorbet. You want to be who's going to be the sorbet? The sorbet is the show that follows the legend. Let's take an example for me. Okay, so in Miami, there was a guy by the name of Neil Rogers, and he was a legend in afternoon talk radio down there. Hugely successful. Everybody loved him. Neil Rogers was great. Neil Rogers died suddenly. And I was offered the opportunity to move to Miami and take over the Neil Rogers show. And everybody that I talked to, including my agent at the time, said, nope, no, you're the sorbet. And this is where I learned the term. David Lee Roth was the sorbet. The sorbet is the person that is hired immediately after the legend disappears. The sorbet infuriates the fans of the legend so much by just their manner of being that they have the audacity that they demand the sorbet be fired. So the guy who replaces the legend lasts about a year in this business. His contract is never renewed. And then the station goes, we've heard you, and we've brought in this guy now. And then they bring in another guy. And the other guy gets a way fairer shot. Why? Because he ain't the one who replaced the other. We hated that guy. He was different. It's the sorbet. It's the cleansing of the palate of the radio listener. So that was the idea with David Lee Roth. He was never intended to be successful. They just wanted to completely see what happens. Let's just see. The idea from the very beginning was to bring in Opie and Anthony. Then I think the Opie and Anthony thing got really complicated, and not every market, by the way, got David Lee Roth. We here in Dallas, we were lucky enough to be treated to 6 months of that, which I still argue, if David Lee Roth was doing that as a podcast, it would be huge. We would all listen to it. If it was like David Lee Roth just did a podcast that was the exact same thing as that radio show he was doing in 2005, we'd all love it. He was not doing bad radio. He was doing weird radio. He was doing experimental radio. He was doing everything that he could to not sound like Howard Stern, to not do the same thing. That's what an artist does. And, you know, we all hated it. Oh, we hated it. Because we're not sophisticated. Because we weren't like, oh, let's appreciate this for the boundary pushing. He would play songs and then stop the song in the middle and then just start talking about something and then go back to the song. It was madness. It was breaking every rule. And it failed. And then they got rid of David Lee Roth, and we all went, oh, good. Here in our market, we were blessed. We had some good timing of our own at 105.3. We had Jagger's contract being fought over at, I think it was the Edge. Was he at the Edge at the time? So as soon as Howard opened up, we were like, nope, let's get Jagger. Let's bring actually, no, we had O&A for a little bit. But then it was, let's bring Jagger in. So we solidified our ship with Jagger as a big local morning show that was able to sort of stop the bleeding that happened when Howard Stern was replaced by David Lee Roth. Other markets didn't do that. You know, I always say this, and we should be very proud of this, although I'm the only one that certainly thinks it's anything to be proud of. But of those CBS shock stations, the stations that were built around Howard Stern, the stations that were for a period of time referred to as free FM, as a panic move. Free FM was branding they came up with to sort of tell people, Howard's going to charge you now at Sirius. We're free FM. Oh, God. It was all so ham-fisted and panicky. But we at 105.3, we were the last. We were the last one. We beat everybody. The station, the New York, WNEW had closed shop. Chicago's CKG had closed shop. KLSX in Los Angeles had completely changed their format. And Live 105.3 was still going. And then they pulled the plug on it for football, for guaranteed cowboy money. And if you're a businessman, you can see the two. But I do say that station could have survived and could still be on the air and could be thought of as an institution in much the same way that the ticket is. But nope. Jerry Jones. All right, where are we? What are we doing here? Are we still doing birthdays? I think we're still in birthdays. Was all of that just born on this day in 1969? Oh, two people. Joelle Carter, who we just went over. She's from Justified, Ava Crowder. Joelle Carter, born on this day in 1969, and also born on this day in 1969, Wendy McClendon Covey. Wendy McClendon Covey. You guys know who that is? Well, you can Google search her. She's the mom from the Goldbergs. She's so funny. I'm so glad that her career took off, because for 15 years before the Goldbergs, before she actually became a household, and now she's hosting game shows. She's everywhere. She's famous. She's legit famous. For like 15 years before that, she was just hysterically funny in everything that she did that nobody ever saw. Reno 911, she's like a scene stealer in that. And that is a show that is built around people who are scene stealers. She is, if you think Wendy, God, and her name is so difficult, that could be a reason why she struggled. Wendy McClendon Covey. If you're a fan of hers in the Goldbergs as a take no shit mom, you should see her as the slutty cop in Reno 911. It's hysterical. Happy birthday. She's cool. Wendy McClendon Covey, born on this day in 1969. Born on this day in 1973. How about Mario Smokin' Lopez? Hate that guy. Hate that guy. Do I have to explain why I don't like Mario Smokin' Lopez? Born on this day in 1974, Dale Earnhardt Jr. What's the programming on him? How am I supposed to? This is wild. I don't know if I'm supposed. Am I supposed to? Is he a good guy or a bad guy? Do we like Dale Earnhardt Jr.? I don't know. Is he a good guy or a bad guy? All right. Born on this day in 1989. Want to feel old? Here's another one. This one's going to make you feel really old. I hate this. And also I'm like, oh, okay, well, a bit of a relief. Born on this day in 1989. She's 35 years old. Julie Taylor from Friday Night Lights. Okay, her real name is Amy Teagarden, but Julie Taylor, little Julie Taylor from Friday Night Lights, she was like the best. She was like perfect. And Sarah's and got her, and they were such a nice couple. You rooted for them. She's 35, man. Amy Teagarden is 35. She was so good and so delightful as Julie Taylor in Friday Night Lights that I don't think I've ever seen her as an adult, or because I think I only see her as that like 15, 16-year-old coach's daughter who hates football. I think that's like, she's so great. Happy birthday to her, Amy Teagarden. I wonder what she looks like now. What does she do? She do anything? She appear in any? I don't even know. Anyway, moving on. Born on this day, NBA superstar to be. Mark my words. Breakout coming. Josh Giddey. Born on this day in 2002. That's right. I'm biased. He's a bull. He's a new bull. But we're going to unlock him. We're going to unlock Josh Giddey, the former number 6 overall pick in 2021. Watch out. You'll see. All right, that's going to do it for birthdays. Time now for the... How many times have I, as a Bulls fan, we're going to unlock him. Trust me. I know he's some other team's bust out top 5 draft pick, but we'll unlock him. Kind of happened with Lonzo. Lonzo was doing really great. We unlocked Lonzo, or Lonzo unlocked himself, and then he'll be back too. That's why Giddey, Lonzo. Oh my God, Ayo. Oh my God, we've been waiting so long for Lonzo. Is it stupid of me to be excited about basketball? I know I should be talking Mavericks, but I can't. I got Bulls on the brain. All right, let's go. Deads. These are people who've died on this day. Let's talk about them as if we knew them, and then decide if they went to heaven or hell. How about this? Dead on this day. Oh, we got 2? Oh, wow. 2 big ones. 2 big celebrities. Dead on this day in 1985, Yul Brynner. He's the King and I. He was go ask your grandma. If you don't know who he is, just go ask your grandma. Or maybe your mom, depending on, how old you are. Yul Brynner was very famous in the 50s, in the 60s, in the 70s, and shaved head. There were only 2 people who were allowed to have shaved heads in Hollywood. It was Yul Brynner and Telly Savalas. Everybody else, they either had to wear toupees or they weren't allowed to be famous. But these 2 guys, Mr. Clean, but, the argument there is that that's a fictional character. Yul Brynner died from lung cancer, and on the day that he died, the Cancer Society of America started airing a commercial where I'm Yul Brynner and I'm dead. It was basically what it was. Creepy. Dead on this day in 1985, Yul Brynner. I gotta say, I think he's got to go to hell. I don't know why. Also, dead on this day in 1985, the same day that Yul Brynner, the King of Siam, that's who he played in The King and I. Same day that Yul Brynner, icon, dies, Orson Welles dies. Oh my goodness. Orson Welles, American actor, producer, and screenwriter. I love Orson Welles. I mean, I know he's a complete turd as a human. He's a jerk, pretentious and all that kind of stuff. But my God, there is an argument to be made for just certain people being them dudes. Certain people just being better at stuff. This dude, like Orson Welles, like his whole thing started Do you know how old he was when he did Citizen Kane? When he made Citizen Kane, which today, still 100 plus years after its release, no, probably not, probably almost 100 years, whatever. Was it 30s, right? This long after release of Citizen Kane, still considered the best film, the greatest American film of all time. Do you know how old Orson Welles was when he starred in, wrote, and produced and directed that film? You know how old he was? 13. That's right. No, that's probably not right at all. I think he was a little bit older than 13. He's probably like 16 or something. My point is, he was a wonder kid. And then before that, when he was like 9, he did that whole War of the Worlds thing on the radio where half the country jumped out of the windows to their death. That's what caused the Great Depression. I might have the history wrong. Anyway, Yul Brynner and Orson Welles died on the exact same day. That's big. That's rare. All right, how about two more? Two more here dying on the exact same day. On this day in 2004, Ken Caminiti, American baseball player, Houston legend. He was kind of a dirtbag, wasn't he? I mean, I'm trying to remember what I thought of Caminiti back in the day, but I always thought he was kind of a dirtbag. Here's how he died. Caminiti died. He was at a friend's house, a friend's apartment, a high-rise building in New York City, and they were, doing speedballs because that's what you do when you're Ken Caminiti in 2004. And he did a speedball, came out of the bathroom, and dropped dead. There you go, Ken Caminiti. I think Ken Caminiti's probably going to hell. He's just got a bad reputation, and he died in sort of a dirtbaggy way. I don't know. I should do more looks into this, right? I should probably, before I damn anyone to hell, I should probably know for sure, but that's not what this show's about, so let's roll with it. Also dead on this day in 2004. And I gotta believe we probably didn't hear a whole lot about Ken Caminiti dying on this day. The Ken Caminiti is dead story probably had to wait about 2 or 3 days, because this dude also died on this day in 2004. And this is who we were talking about, Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve passed away on this day in 2004, American actor, producer, activist. My Superman will always be my Superman, my generation's Superman. To me, he's the first of the superhero guys, the big movie superhero guys. There wasn't really, there were superhero movies made in the 50s and the 60s, but they were B movies, and they weren't intended for serious audiences. Then Richard Donner comes along, cast Christopher Reeve as Superman, and he makes a big budget 1977 movie called Superman, and it changed film history. If not for the success of Christopher Reeve as Superman in 1977, you wouldn't have seen other studios begin in the 1980s and late 70s to make other superhero films, which obviously culminated with this deluge of Marvel and DC garbage. It's like a hurricane. But it all started with Christopher Reeve. He was the movie star that they went, yeah, okay, so people will go to box office, they'll buy box office tickets to see this guy wearing tights. And it's not just kids, it's grown-ups. Christopher Reeve was awesome. He was a good actor. And unfortunately, he got sort of pigeonholed for a bit in the role of Superman, but whatever, he made like 4 movies, so it's not like he was shopping at the Dollar Tree. Then, of course, he had his riding accident, and he became paralyzed. And that was a huge, huge sort of national thread that we all held on to for a number of years as we watched this man, who we deified in the role of Superman, suddenly be less than. And it was sobering. It was sort of like one of those deals where we all kind of went, oh boy, life is fragile. And that's kind of what I think Christopher Reeve represented to a lot of people. Heroic, all of that shit. There's a great new documentary coming out. As a matter of fact, man, let me look for it right now. Let me see if we can watch this. There's a great documentary about him. Oh. I loved him, so he's like one of my favorite dudes. So there you go. Documentary, let's see. Yeah, this is it. Okay, let's watch this. This is a new big-ass documentary about the great Christopher Reeve and all that he went through and all of that good stuff. And here we go. Let's watch this, and let's be very excited. And by the way, he's going to heaven, just so you know. Chris Reeves, in my world, is going to heaven. Here you go. I've not seen this yet. Let's watch.
Everybody's looking for a hero. I am not a hero. That was a part. I played the part. I'm not that man.
Hands down, he was Superman from day one.
I realized that if I could pull off this part, it would change my life.
John Houseman said, Mr. Reeve, it is very important to become a serious classical actor. Unless, of course, they offer you a load of money to do something else.
He convinced me when I first met him that he would fly.
Doing things with my dad, it was all about activity and action. Riding bikes, playing soccer, skiing.
Carpe diem, Al!
My dad was very competitive, and he didn't necessarily slow down.
We said goodbye, and he gave this wave. That was the last time I saw him on his feet.
Mr. Reeve currently has no movement or spontaneous respiration.
Superman, crazy. Just that simple little thing over the horse.
I'd ruined my life and everybody else's. I won't be able to ski, sail, throw a ball to Will. Won't be able to make love to Dana. Maybe we should let me go.
She came flying in, and she just yelled, "I love you. I love you."
And then she said the words that saved my life. You're still you, and I love you.
He and Robin were such good friends because they could match each other.
Robin also had struggles that he dealt with his whole life, and I think that they both were aware of darkness.
Brother Chris is fighting like crazy. When you find people who fight like that but still keep their humanity, that gives you great hope.
That is tough because I can feel him, but he can't feel me.
It must have been hell for my mom, too, knowing what she had lost.
I felt I needed to do something, not just for myself, but for everyone else in the same condition.
The fact that Superman was in a wheelchair and was willing to go public with it was huge.
Help is on the way.
The Christopher and Dana Reeve Paralysis Act.
People are literally walking because of him.
What is a hero? My answer was that a hero is someone who commits a courageous action without considering the consequences. Now my definition is completely different. I think a hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. I wouldn't have missed this for the world.
Who's cutting onions in here, huh? Jeez, are you kidding me? October 11th, tomorrow in theaters. Yeah, next week it'll be, available in your house. But yeah, man. Wow. Frank wants me to check out Somewhere in Time. Of course I've seen Somewhere in Time. Let's see. Frank is also screaming out just his random stuff. We love Frank. Frank is one of my oldest friends and a dear, dear soul and a great supporter of this here show. But Frank is known in the chat room for just throwing random stuff out. Chumming the water for me. See, because Frank has known me for 20 years. Frank understands that I have a very, very short attention span and that I will chase the chum in the water. So let's go. Margot Kidder is something that Frank just shouts out. Man. Margot Kidder. Okay, so Margot Kidder and who's the other one? I confuse them all the time. Remember? The crazy one? Oh, I don't want to say that. The deeply disturbed one who drove her car into a house and caught on fire. She's also the woman who was a lesbian with Anne Heche. No, that's her, Anne Heche. Woo! I always get Anne Heche and Margot Kidder confused. There you go, Frank. Thank you. Christopher Reeve. All right, there you go. He's super cool. We like Christopher Reeve. Also, dead on this day in 2012, how about Alex Karras? Alex Karras, ladies and gentlemen, he played football for the Detroit Lions. He was scandalized. He bet on games, kicked out. Also had some, maybe some mob ties. I don't know. Didn't they all back then? Wasn't that part of it? I think Alex Karras got caught up in like the whole Paul Horning thing. I don't know what it was, but anyway, he got like kicked out of football. So who else? There was one other person too. They got kicked out of football at that time. Anyway, he was good at football, and then he became Webster's dad. Alex Karras, he's in hell. I'm certain he's in hell. Alex Karras. All right, that's going to do it, folks. The first three quarters are in the book, so now it's time to let's get into all the things that are happening today. Or let's get caught up in the chat room. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just say hi to some of the folks hanging out in the chat room here. What are some of the latest comments? That was fun when Frank. There you go, Frank. There we go. That's all we needed. Earlier, we had a big controversy here on the show about when Joelle Carter, who played Ava Crowder on Justified, when she was born. I maintain it's 1969. That's my sources telling me. And Al in the chat room had some alternative facts saying that it was 1972. Al says she was born in 1972. Look at Wikipedia. All right, let me check that out. All right, I don't want to tell how the sausage is made, but okay, hold on. I will go. Hold on. Where is my God darn it? There she is, Joelle Carter. Okay. Joelle Carter Wikipedia. Well, I'll be damned. It says 1972. Okay, so now let me try and figure out why this could be. Because I came up the Wikipedia page for this day. Every day has its own Wikipedia page, and that's one of the sources that I read first before I put together the birthday list. She was listed on this day. You know what? Whatever. Al's right. I'm wrong. Winner, chicken dinner. You're right. I'm sorry, and I don't know. I put all these together. I'm still looking at a hyperlink that from 1969 that tells me whatever. It's listed two different ways, but on her official Wikipedia page, it says 1972, which is what Al was arguing. Thus, he is the winner. Not that all conversations have a winner and a loser. Do you see how when you frame things a certain way? How about just Al and I had a disagreement about a fact, and now I'm wrong and he's right, and we can all celebrate that. Whatever, Al. No, I'm not going to be bitter about it. I'm not going to. Trust me. Was it worth it, Al? Was it worth it, Al, now to be in my shade list? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. All right, let's talk about quarter four. Quarter four is what we're in right now. I will remind you at this time, once again, how the show does propel itself. If you appreciate this kind of talk radio, if you like the non-political lens by which I seem to spew, you can always help support us. And by doing that, just drop a little something in either the Venmo or the Cash App. I'll leave that up for those of you who are so moved. Now we're going to move into all the things that are happening today. Okay, tops of our list. It's going to be tops of our list every day. And I know y'all think it's going to be Milton, but it's not. It's Israel. We are still waiting for Israel. So let's move on to story number 2, Milton. All right, Hurricane Milton made landfall last night, a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm sure the networks appreciated that because it gave them more landfall coverage in prime time, which is where they're able to charge the most for their commercials. So let's hear it. Wait a second, follow the money. If the news media made more money because the hurricane made landfall in prime time, and the media who made the money are in cahoots with the liberal lizard people who are controlling the weather. Hey. It's true, though. It is true. It is true. It is true that the hurricane made landfall in prime time, which, was good for TV. It was really good for TV. Came ashore at Siesta Key, which I guess is just like south, like barely south of Sarasota. It looks to me like this thing hit Sarasota square, and then it made its way across the state. And now I think it's heading out to sea out there in the Atlantic. Okay, so let's walk through all the stuff as it happened yesterday, right? So first, it was kind of wild, wasn't it? Like a couple of hours before it made landfall, we started having all of these incredible tornado outbreaks in Florida. This is, I don't remember this being a thing. Like before Katrina hit New Orleans, was there like 100 tornado? I don't know. I don't remember. Did they not cover it? Because honestly, we're all victims to what they choose to cover and tell us. So I don't know if this is a new thing or not, or if this is special for this hurricane, but man, oh man, there were tornado outbreaks all over South Florida yesterday and North Florida, the Panhandle, all over it. Multiple fatalities that we're finding today are directly attributed to the tornadoes, not the hurricane. Let's see. I said it made landfall at Siesta Key. It's now moved off the coast. Alligators, they got alligator problems down there now. That's hold on, let me see. I'll just read it to you, okay? I can tell you about how I experienced the hurricane as a TV watcher, or we can at first at least get the facts as they're being reported by the AP. Hurricane Milton, massive storm leaves millions without power. The number I'm seeing is about 3 million people without power. It says also at least 5 dead. How do we determine severity of a storm? Do we do it in death toll, or do we do it in billions of dollars in damage done to the area? Because Helene from a week ago, Helene did a lot of monetary damage. And the death toll is significant, but of course we're a couple of weeks removed from that, so we're still finding bodies and the number's still going up. 5 right now, according to Milton. And I believe all 5 of these, excuse me, that's my throat. I believe all 5 of these are directly attributed to the tornado outbreak. Hurricane Milton barreled into the Atlantic Ocean on Thursday after plowing across Florida, where it knocked out power to more than 3 million customers and whipped up 150 tornado warnings. Power outages. Here's what they're dealing with down there. More than 3 million homes and businesses are still without power. Florida's central Gulf Coast was hardest hit by the outages, including Hardee, Sarasota, Hillsborough, and Manatee counties. The death toll right now is at least 5 people died in the storm, and that number could rise throughout the day. Is there a new number? I can probably find that number or what are you guys in the chat room? Go ahead, find the new death toll number and post it in the chat room if you would. Water levels may continue to rise in the coming days, but on Thursday, the worst storm surge appeared to be in Sarasota County, where it was 8 to 10 feet. Hey, were you guys watching the coverage last night when the water left the Tampa Bay? And everybody was like, oh, it was really ominous. That was pretty wild. I mean, I don't know. I'm dumb. Like, I don't know how that shit works. I'm not like a marine biologist or anything. But, there's supposed to be water in the Tampa Bay. And then when you saw that there was no water, like the water had receded out. And then they got to explain, well, that's because the hurricane is whipping and there's a centrifugal force. And the force of the rotating winds will suck the water out only to bring it back tenfold. So that was really scary. It was like, ooh, it's coming back worse. I was watching Chris Cuomo, who I thought did a very good job. I thought, so I was jumping between Anderson Cooper, and Chris Cuomo in their coverage. First of all, let me just say about Chris Cuomo. I don't know if anybody watches him on News Nation. Chris Cuomo looking jacked, like he loves these things, man. The first time I ever noticed that Chris Cuomo was jacked was in Ferguson. Remember the Ferguson riots? CNN put him out there on the streets, and he was wearing a polo. And like he probably needs to wear like an extra large, but he got the large, and it's still the slim fit. So I'm like, Jesus, he is jacked. He looked like he was in Ferguson. The polo he was wearing looked like it was body paint. It looked like anyway. Chris Cuomo is still jacked, and now he's like an old man who's jacked. That's a scary thing. That's an old man that's also jacked. Anyway, he's wearing the T-shirt, the News Nation T-shirt. Here's what I liked about what Chris Cuomo did. He wasn't doing any of the performative bullshit where he's, I'm standing in the rain. No, he was obviously storm adjacent, but he was in a house or something, and there was a window between him and what was going on. Or at the very least, he was in like a hallway because he was blowing. There was a little bit of wind, but he was obviously seeking shelter and being reasonable. But then he would throw it to all these other guys like Brian Enton and all this stuff. And like the first thing, and this is what I love about Chris Cuomo, he is so focused on making you believe that he's just the boy next door. How's your mom? You know, one of those guys. So every single one of these people that he would throw it to, he would do this big performative speech before. First, we want to throw it to Brian Enton, who's down there at Tampa Bay. Brian, but first, I have to let you know, this is crazy, man. We've covered these storms before. If for any reason you seem to think you need to seek shelter, don't you worry about me, brother. You just throw it back to me, and then I'll just take it from there. The most important thing is that you stay safe. Like, it was that thing. He did that for everybody. Like everybody he went to. Hey, man, I just want you to know. That's Chris Cuomo's whole vibe. I like it. I mean, it's crazy, you know, it's weird, and I think it's really insincere, but, you know, whatever. I still like it. It translates on TV. That was funny. And then he had Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper, who, you know, the joke is that he and Chris Cuomo were probably only about 50 yards from each other. Because the media goes to a specific spot. They all hang out together. They share information. It's a very collaborative kind of thing. I know you think that, no, they're all trying to scoop one another. Nah, they all drink the same stuff. They sit in the same bars. They hang out at the same pools. And when these kinds of things happen, they all make the same reservation at the same hotel. So the hotel, why do you wonder? Why is CNN always in front of a hotel when they're doing these? Because that's where they're staying. And they don't venture too much further than where they're staying. And they all stay at the same place. So you got Chris Cuomo, who's like in obviously an indoor protected area. He's wearing his tight T-shirt and he's telling everybody to be safe like him. Then you go over to CNN with Anderson Cooper. They got Anderson Cooper. I'm like, who did Anderson Cooper piss off? Anderson Cooper. This dude is like, first of all, CNN is theoretically, you know, the gold standard, the original, the world news leader. You know, CNN is the thing people know in Bangladesh, you know, unlike Newsmax or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? So they got Anderson Cooper, who's like their top guy, like their most credible guy. They got him, and they made him sit out in the hurricane, and he got pelted in the face with something, like some kind of sign came flying, and, you know, banked him. What is that about? He shouldn't be. Anderson Cooper hasn't been in a hurricane in 10 years. Anderson Cooper, he's not the people they send into the hurricane. That's like Dana Bash bullshit. You send Boris Sanchez, you know, and Dana Bash into the hurricane. Do anybody else appreciate my CNN humor? Anyway, it was great. I thought Cuomo did the best coverage. I thought News Nation had the best coverage of it. Here, this was interesting. Did you see, where is it? Tropicana Field, home of your Tampa Bay Devil Rays. What are they called now? Is that what they are? I don't know what they are. Tropicana Field took some real serious damage. The whole roof of this thing came off. I mean, imagine if the Rays were in the postseason. They would not be playing their games. There would be no World Series here. Here, let me show you. I got some video of it. That's not the good video. Here it is. That's the good video. or at least the best video that we're going to have. So this is home to your Rays down there in Tampa. Hurricane Milton came through and just kicked this stadium's ass. The entire roof came off. Here, watch this. So it's okay. So you see, here's the roof of the stadium. They're filming this from their hotel room across the street. What are those? Just bed sheets? What is this? An $800 million civic living room fort? That's the roof of the stadium. Anyway, the light of day revealed the roof's gone. The roof is gone on Tropicana. It went away. Let's see, what else do we have here? Tropicana Field. Oh, Lieutenant Dan. Yeah. Lieutenant Dan. So let's talk about him a little bit. Lieutenant Dan was a guy we featured yesterday. He was making the rounds on TikTok. He was TikTok. Lieutenant Dan is one of these dudes that won't leave. It's not leaving. God's involved in his decision here. So, who are we to question? He's not leaving. He's also got one leg, thus the Lieutenant Dan nickname. Throwback, Forrest Gump fans. Who amongst you? Lieutenant Dan was going to stay tied to the pier there in Tampa Bay. We met him yesterday. Everybody met him. He was everywhere. And he was going to ride the storm out, man. Cutie REO Speedwagon. Well, of course he survived. Lieutenant Dan is fine. Let's check in with him. And then we'll talk a little bit more about Lieutenant Dan and all the things that we've learned. Because if one thing that I know for certain about Americans, if they find out that you get famous overnight for no reason, somebody's going to go through your trash can. So somebody's going to find some shit about you. Let's see. So we know some stuff now about Lieutenant Dan, the TikTok sensation who rode out Milton tied to the dock in Tampa. Like I personally, I think my first thought was, wait a second, this dude's not homeless. He's got money to have a boat that's moored right there in like central Tampa Bay. He can have an apartment. Well, this is not a homeless dude. This is by choice. Anyway, okay, so let's watch this. Here we go. It's Brian Enton again. We like Brian Enton. Brian Enton from News Nation. Hold on. He checks in on. This isn't. When is this exactly? Okay, this appears to be last night after the eye wall passed. All right, here we go.
He's okay, which is like incredible, Ashley, based on what we've been through over the last couple of hours. Lieutenant Dan. I've got you on News Nation. We just wanted to, are you okay?
I'm fine, I'm getting wet.
He's fine, he's getting wet. Are you concerned when the water comes back in?
I don't know what's gonna happen. I'll have to see when it happens. Just hanging in tight, waiting for the water to come in so I can see what I gotta do then.
All right, so this is the thing I was telling you about earlier when it was weird because all the water got sucked out of Tampa Bay. So all the water's basically gone, or it's not gone yet, but it's gone, and his boat is resting on the bottom.
He's hanging in tight. Wait, oh boy, it's coming in here again. Okay. Okay, keep me posted. So the good news is there's some people up here, I think, who are sort of trying to keep an eye on him. But just to show Luis, I mean, it's not a good situation because the water has receded. So he's like, his boat is now basically touching the floor of the bay. And what he was saying, if you couldn't hear, is he's concerned. What he's wondering is what's going to happen when the water comes back in.
Yeah, well, apparently he made it. He survived the night. Tampa and Tampa Bay specifically did not receive the throttling that I think a lot of people had predicted, a lot of people thought, or maybe let's not be accusatory because I've seen that. Oh, you people, weatherman said Tampa Bay was going to be like, okay, so leave him alone. Err on the side of let's warn people what could happen because bad shit could have happened. This thing, apparently, it went a little bit further south. It turned a little bit south. It didn't hit Tampa Bay directly. Tampa Bay's surge wasn't, I think it was, like 6-7 feet or something like that. They were saying yesterday or 2 days ago, they were saying 19-foot swells. Now we looking. It's the next day, trying to figure out how much damage did it actually do. So we'll see. But what we do know is that Tampa Bay did not take the punishment that people had feared. What with that being such a densely populated area. What else do we have here? Okay, so I made a joke about this earlier. Can we stop with the controlling the weather talk? Can we stop with that? And there's this whole thing going around about how this is once again, crazy people. Look, we can't control the weather. All right, stop it. And if any one of you people start saying bullshit like, well, what about cloud seeding? Shut up, you don't know about cloud seeding. Cloud seeding's been happening since 1861. It's an accepted form of science. And you know what? A lot of people who do the cloud seeding, they don't know that it works really even. So stop pretending like they can just whip up hurricanes and tornadoes and earthquakes and all of these things. Why? Because it's election season? No, how about and so the last 200 years of recorded history was just a big kayfabe so that we'd buy it in 2024 when a hurricane hit something in October? Come on. And also, can I just say, and I can't say this loud enough, if it turns out that one political party does in fact have the smarts to control the weather, I am with that political party. So stop acting like it's a bad thing. That would be a great thing if somebody could actually master and manipulate the Earth's weather. Oh, Kelly's screwing up my microphone again. Hold on. All right. Anyway, no, there are no such things as Jewish space lasers that start forest fires in California. That's not a thing. And again, the logic of these arguments, okay, so Jewish space lasers were responsible for the California wildfires. Why? Doesn't that seem like that is hurting the very West Coast liberals that you believe made what? Are they bumbling with the Jewish space lasers? But then when a hurricane happens, right? That's because they're controlling the weather and they've created these hurricanes. The argument today, this morning, is that both of these hurricanes were created specifically so that the Democrats could wipe out voting stations in Florida. And that is just, my God, what kind of a stupid person do you have to be to actually go, hey, yeah, maybe. If you could actually control the weather and you can make it rain and you can create storms and all this kind of stuff, I'm not even going to allow this kind of flight of fancy in my head to exist. We can't do it. So just stop it. Stop it with all that. Speaking of, and I wanted to get that out before this next story. Hey, everybody, InfoWars is for sale. InfoWars. We could talk about all of the Jewish space lasers and weather control and hurricane production and all that stuff. We could do all day long till the cows come home, as they say. InfoWars is for sale. It's all part of Alex Jones owing $100 billion to dead kids. I don't mean to be reductive, but kind of it. So they got to sell InfoWars. They're going to sell it, and Alex Jones. This is an interesting story because Alex Jones himself is said to have a group of buyers who are willing to come in and buy InfoWars. In which case, he would remain the titular head, and nothing would change other than he doesn't get to own it anymore, and his paychecks and salaries and all that stuff would still have to. I don't know how it would work, but that's what he's saying. And then there's a whole bunch of other groups of people who just want to buy it to destroy it, and there's going to be a bit of a court issue. I'm sure it's going to be challenged about giving preference. For instance, the highest bidder is who should probably own this, right? The person who bids the most. When you consider that this is not a what's in the best interest for the future of InfoWars situation, it's a how much of the money owed to these Sandy Hook families can we get? So they're going to be looking for the highest price. And that's got, I guess, Alex Jones a little bit spooked because he's backing a group led by Roger Stone, who apparently the group of investors that Roger Stone has been able to entice with this thing, they got a hard ceiling on how high they're willing to go money-wise. And so anyway, that's what's happening. It's for sale. There's an auction site. You can go check it out. Anyway, Alex Jones is afraid that some activist, which is really just what he would call any rich guy who hates him and wants to humiliate him further. He's fearful that a dude like that is going to buy it. And he wants to keep working. He wants to keep doing it. So he's hoping that, Anyway, no. A judge is going to accept the largest bid because, again, this money is going to the families of dead children. Sorry, Roger Stone, you don't cut a sympathetic swath in the courtroom when we're talking about dead children. So, yeah, you're not going to probably get your InfoWars. It'll go to a Soros-backed group, which will, who knows what they'll do. Anyway, moving on. Suburbanites are in the news today. Suburbanites. Why is this? Because there was just a very big Ipsos Reuters poll, one of the more respected polls. I know I said weeks ago, we're going to follow the polls. I don't want to do that on the show. I've been looking at the polls every day. I'm a poll guy. No, we're not going to follow the polls. Who cares? Just go and vote, and we'll see you Wednesday morning, right? That's how we look at it. But this is an interesting poll as it talks about a segment of America that is not necessarily overlooked, but maybe taken for granted, and is one of the big three, okay? The big three are big city dwellers, urbanites, if you will, the people who live in the big cities. And then, of course, you've got the rural folk, the good rural folk, who ain't got but 5 neighbors for every 10-mile circumference, right? Got those folks. But then there's a third group, which is the suburban folks. The suburban people are considered to be the most important voting bloc in this coming election. Who the suburban vote goes for isn't always the case who the country goes for, because the suburban vote is very often fragmented. But it's looking like the suburban vote is definitely drawn this time between partisan lines. And that's why there's a very interesting story here. Suburbanites, that's attached to this Ipsos Reuters poll. Suburbanites, who make up about half of the U.S. electorate, are as a racially diverse a nation. Suburbanites, who make up about half of the U.S. electorate and are as racially diverse as the nation at large, are a key prize. Biden beat Trump in suburban counties by about 6 percentage points in the 2020 presidential election. Before Biden dropped out, Trump was leading him 43-40 among suburbanites in the Reuters Ipsos poll that was conducted in June and July. So in June and July, before Biden dropped out, Trump was leading in the suburbs 43-40. Now, this is the suburb. He lost the suburbs to Biden. That's why Trump wins the suburbs in 2024. You can pretty much inaugurate him. Before Biden dropped out, Trump was leading in the suburbs 43-40 among suburbanites in the Reuters Ipsos poll from June. Harris began closing the gap when she launched her campaign in July and now leads Trump 47-41 among suburban voters in polling across September and October. That represents a 9-point swing in the Democrats' favor, according to the analysis of 6 Reuters Ipsos polls. During the same period, Trump went from leading Biden 44-37 among voters in households that earn between $50,000 and $100,000. It's the middle class. That's the working class household right there. So Trump was leading Biden 44-37 among the working class. Now he's trailing Harris in that very same demographic. He's trailing Harris 45-43% among working voters. Also a 9-point swing. Now, why is this one important? This one is important because people have been waiting to see a very specific poll concerning the suburbs. And historically in the poll watching game, Ipsos and Reuters has sort of been the ones that focus on the whole suburban thing. So this is a very big story today, and we're not going to talk about polls, but it does show that Harris is making a huge improvement over Biden in the all-important suburbs of America. Maybe not Richardson, Texas, maybe not, But honestly, I guess you could say where I live is kind of the suburbs, but it's the suburb in Texas, and it's a wealthy suburb in Texas. So the Trump signs are far more frequent. than the Harris signs. But the fact that there are some Harris signs at all, I go, all right. Look at that crazy person who doesn't mind being punched in the face in their driveway. Big news today. Diddy is making his first court appearance. Don't know if he did already. He may have already appeared. Diddy is going to be in court. Let's see here. He's going to be, what's the deal with today? They're going to try and set a trial date. May trial date has been set. Okay, so he was in court already. May trial date has been set for Sean Diddy Combs to face sex trafficking charges. May 5th trial date was set Thursday afternoon. Just now. It's probably doing the birthdays when in New York they were setting the trial date. Combs appeared before Judge Arun Subramanian in Manhattan Federal Court. After entering the courtroom, he hugged each of his lawyers. The judge also set deadlines for lawyers on each side to submit arguments that will establish the boundaries for a trial that Combs' lawyers want to start in April or May. The judge was assigned to the case after another judge recused himself based on his past associations with lawyers in the case. Combs, Diddy, 54, has pled not guilty to charges lodged against him last month. Those charges include racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking based on allegations that go back to 2008. Excuse me. Late Wednesday, lawyers for Combs submitted court papers blaming the government's Department of Homeland Security for a leak to the media of video of Combs punching and kicking. Remember that video, the hotel video that was released, where he's chasing Cassie down the hallway and he's like punching her and all that kind of stuff? Okay, so his lawyers are claiming that video should never have been seen and that it's the Department of Homeland Security's fault. Okay, so maybe it should have never been seen, but we saw it. We know who he is now. I mean, what's the deal? All right, what else do we have here? Piers Morgan, that dude. Oh God, he's such a chode. Nice use of the word chode. Piers Morgan, he's got a show. I don't know. Does he? I don't even know if it's. He's back in England, okay. And I think he's doing a YouTube show. He used to be the host of like Good Morning America, but it's called Good Morning Britain. He used to be the host of that, and then he got fired from that. I don't know. He was at war with Kate Middleton or something. I don't know. Anyway, he's now got a YouTube channel, and he's doing these big YouTube interviews. Piers Morgan Uncensored. And if you like Piers Morgan, it's probably wonderful. And if you don't like Piers Morgan like me, you still watch it from time to time, because he's undeniably good at what he does. What he does is act like the biggest prick on TV, and sometimes that's good. So on a recent show, he was talking about Diddy. He's talking about the whole Diddy situation. And he had a guest on, a singer and a performer that I've never heard of called Jaguar Wright, which is a cool name. Jaguar Wright. Jaguar Wright said that Diddy, everybody's focused on Diddy. They ought to be focused on Jay-Z and Beyonce, because Jay-Z and Beyonce are like way worse than Diddy and this and that and this and that. And oh my God, the internet went ablaze with, this person goes on Piers Morgan and outs Jay-Z and Beyonce as being even worse. So became a big thing. And yesterday, Jay-Z and Beyonce, they got their lawyers involved, and the lawyers threatened to shut down Piers Morgan and his show Uncensored. And of course, because, his show is called Uncensored, he immediately edited that part of the show. Here, wait a second. I think I got this for you. Can I show it to you? He did. He edited it out, and he went on the air, and he apologized and all of that. On Uncensored, you're going to get uncensored. You're not going to get what the guys I carry water for want me to say. No. You're going to get uncensored, stupid. It's called Uncensored. This must be uncensored. And then he pisses off Jay-Z and Beyonce, and immediately, dude is like, okay, I'll go edit it out, and then I'll go on the air, and I'll grovel. Check this out. Watch. Here it is. Anytime Piers Morgan grovels. Here's the good thing about being Piers Morgan. He's totally cool with groveling. It's built into his personality.
Platform, as long as there's something to say that other people want. The reality of the modern world is that pretty much everyone has a platform as long as there's something to say that other people want to hear. That's why we invited her on to be interviewed. The people making these claims have an audience with or without shows like mine. Well, Jaguar Wright unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay-Z and Beyonce during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves, but now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too. And we apologise to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
All right, there he is. All right. So how do we react to that? We got two choices here. And let me put the camera back on. We got two choices on how I can react to that. I can be cynical, me. And I can be like, you little bitch, look at you, bitch. Or I can be the optimistic me, and I can go, good, more people should be apologizing for shit. That's kind of progress. Okay. All right, you're a dick. You admitted you were a dick. You're apologizing for being a dick. I ought to consider that progress. I'm choosing the optimistic way. So good on you, Piers. Good on you. Although, being the angry guy, that's more fun. Because, again, dopamine, I'd probably, Piers Morgan is a dick. Like, if I started ranting on that, the way I do sometimes, I would get so high on my brain dopamine. Gotta resist that, man. Sometimes being, a team player. Yay, humans. Someone apologized. Yay. Barney says, I don't think it's an act. Well, I get what you're saying, Barn. Like, he's an asshole. Yes, of course. He is like base model Piers Morgan is an asshole. If he was working in the insurance agency that you worked at, right? He'd base model Piers Morgan is an asshole. But he does have all of these other accoutrements that have built up over time because of his, job and all that stuff. So he's definitely sort of amplifying the base model asshole that I'm sure Piers Morgan is. That's how I would respond to Barney. Barney says, you can yell fire in a crowded theater, particularly if it's on fire. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. In fact, encouraged, might I add, to yell fire in a crowded theater. If it is, as Barney points out, in fact on fire, it's encouraged to yell it. But again, there has to be the fire. Like, it has to literally be there. You have to see the fire. You can't go, I feel like a fire's going to break out. Fire! You can't do that, Barney. Gotta have the evidence of the fire first. Look at Barney and I having a personal conversation. All right. So Diddy's Day in Court, Piers and Jay-Z and Beyonce. How about this one? Anybody like tennis? No, of course not, because we're real Americans. Look at me in front of a flag and everything. Rafael Nadal has retired from tennis. I don't know, man. Like, so I don't know tennis. I know the bigs, right? Like, I don't follow tennis. If you're like a superstar in tennis, like, I know who you are, right? Okay. So we've established my tennis bona fides. So here's what I understand. Rafael Nadal is retiring from tennis. Just what I know about him. He's not Roger Federer, and he's not Novak Djokovic. Which one is the bet? There's like a basketball player, and then there's like a really good tennis guy. Let's put it this way. Here's what I know about Rafael Nadal, who is retiring. I know that he's not Roger Federer, and I know that he's not Noko Bloko Block. Okay? That's what I know. All three of those guys, like, when I think of all three of them, I'm like, oh, I've heard people say they're the best tennis player of all time. I've heard that's so, but I guess like Federer and Nogabogabak and the guy we're talking about here, whose name suddenly escapes me. Who the hell are we talking? Oh no, Rafael Nadal. There you go. The brain. Okay. Anyway, isn't Rafael Nadal, isn't he the best of all three of them? And here's why. Here's my argument. I think that I saw something this morning on ESPN that showed like in all of their times together, like all of them playing against each other, like he's got the winning, like he's won, like he's okay. So it's like this. So he's played Federer 30 times and he's won like 16 times or what? I don't know what it is. Anyway, he's gone. I shouldn't have spent this much time ham-fistedly trying to prove that, see, I can talk tennis, because the only thing that I proved was that I absolutely cannot talk tennis. Arthur Ashe. That's all I got for you on tennis. I know that he was good. I know that he won French Opens. I know that was his thing. That was another thing. I know that like his particular thing, Rafael Nadal, his particular thing was French Opens, to the point that they built a statue to him there. He's got a statue out in front of the French Open, which I don't know. Is that a stadium? Or like, it's probably at the same place, right? I'm gonna pull something out of my ass. I believe the French Open is played at Roland Garros Stadium. I think that's right. I think I should. There's no reason that I should know that. I might be wrong too. All right, let's see here. Breast milk. Who's drinking breast milk? Put your hand down, pervs. Breast milk. People are drinking breast milk. Who's down for some cold bread? Do you drink it cold, or is it room temperature, or tit temperature? What? Because look, if breast milk, honestly, if this becomes a thing, this could be. If you people are dumb enough to start in 2024 drinking, breast milk and normalizing drinking breast milk, and we've got a whole new industry now of like breast milk. Oh man, I don't care. I will gladly create a breast milk company. I think, like the Red Bull of breast milk. That's what I would like to do. I will never sample my product because this is one of the most vile and vomit-inducing notions that I could have met. Breast milk. Regular, otherwise normal people are now choosing to drink breast milk. All right, let's get into this story. I've just established my outrage, so we know where I stand. Breast milk for adults, wellness elixir or unscientific fascination? Oh my God, you guys, I can't even. Ugh. Researchers have found some more promising ways the infant food can benefit health, aside from being a nutritional supplement and supposed hangover cure. Boom, there you go. Wait a second. Hold on. There you go. That's the niche. Oh, man. Okay, so hangover cure. See? Because here's what you want to do. All of these kinds of products, you want to introduce them to dumb young people. That's it. The Red Bull. Hey, man, who wants to be able to have all the dumb young people? Red Bull took off when it was introduced to vodka in clubs, and people were dancing on Red Bulls and vodkas till like 4 o'clock in the morning. See? Find your niche within the stupid young people, and you will be cashing checks forever. So, how do we popularize breast milk among young people? Hangover cure. There you go. I like it. All right, so how do I do this company? How do we do this? So obviously we need to produce real human breast milk. This means hanging out with a lot of pregnant women. That's going to be a thing. Oh, man, crack babies. Oh, dude. We don't have to tell people. Now, wait a second. Will the breast, you guys, are you enjoying this ride? We're going for a stream of consciousness industry building ride. We're gonna create a company here. All right. So once we take the breast milk from all the pregnant women, and I'll explain who they'll be. When we take the breast milk, do we all mix it together? Is it all like mixed together? Like, is it all just like one big vat of breast milk, or does it need to stay specific to the person? And like, can we sell it like this one has a little Latin spice? You know, how do we Hawaii? You know, I don't know. I think we that's what we do. It doesn't matter. That I don't want to get into the whole racism of, you know, I need breast milk from an Asian woman. I don't want to get into that. So we'll get all of the breast milk and we'll put it in one big vat, and then we'll just we'll pump it out in bottles. So we'll sell those bottles, and we'll get into what the branding and all that is. Now let's go back to the pregnant women. How do we get pregnant women who are going to, why don't we find like homeless women who are pregnant? Is that even a thing? Is that a thing? There's got to be a lot of pregnant women who are, especially now with no, birth control, they're going to be lactating. Or birth control, no abortion. They got to keep these babies. They're going to look for a way to make some money. Come work for me. Pimp out your breast milk. Milk pimps. That's it. All right, guys. That stream of consciousness, what we're going to call brain creative storm session that we all just went through, creating my new brand of hangover cure. Tit pimps. Tit pimps is better. Tit pimps is better. Boob bros. No, don't like it. Stupid. Tit pimps. Tit pimps. Tit pimps hangover cure. Yeah, Barney's a crisis pregnancy centers. Yeah. Go hang out in a van. Just bring a van and park in front and be like, who wants to make $5 for a quart of breast milk? Although, what's the overhead on that? It's funny, but what is the overhead on that? Could we get enough breast milk? And how does breast milk work? I've only been, I guess that was twice, but I don't remember exactly how breast milk works. Like, do you have to have had the baby? Or do you start lactating when you're pregnant? I don't know. I'm going to have to hire someone to be in charge of these things. I'm about the bigger issues, and that is, of course, how we turn tit pimps hangover milk into like the next Red Bull. It's such a great idea. You know how I know it's such a great idea? Because it sounds so fucking stupid, like Google. It just sounds so fucking stupid that it's probably destined to be huge. Or you know what else sounded really stupid? When that dude started Starbucks and he's going in looking for money and he's saying, yeah, so I want to build all of these restaurants in some of the most expensive real estate in towns. I want to build restaurants and what are you serving? Coffee? You want to serve coffee? You think people are going to come to your place to get a cup of coffee? I do. People have coffee makers in their house. They drink their coffee before they go out. They don't stop there. You think you're going to have such a special product? And they laughed them out of the room. And now look at us. Bottled water, same thing. The people, Evian or whatever, the people are like, yeah, let's put water in a bottle. And everybody, my generation, were like, what are you talking about, water in a bottle? We drink it from a hose. We stick our head under a sink. The water comes out. It's free. It's always been that way. Now you want to charge me a premium to have it in a box or like a bottle? Took off in the early 90s. Everybody started drinking bottled water. Bottled water was not a thing before 1994. I promise you. You can double check the math on the years, but I'm pretty sure that that's about the same time. We drank out of hoses. Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how much water. Do you know a couple of years ago, my son we were doing something, and I grabbed a cup and I turned on the sink and I filled up a cup with water from the sink and I drank it. And my 15-year-old kid looked at me like he was watching me eat human flesh. He looked at me like, ugh. I'm like, what? And he goes, don't drink that. I'm like, what do you mean don't drink that? It's got a water filter and everything. What, your generation doesn't think you can drink out of a sink? Oh my God. The world is weird. All right. I'm going to have to work seriously on that tit pimps hangover milk. It's a great idea. At the very least, we'll make a commercial for it. And we'll have it be a sponsor of certain things. Coon problems. Whoa, what'd he say? That's why he can't get hired in normal radio. No, coon problems, as in raccoon problems. I don't know why you were thinking I was saying something else. Totally off brand. Like what, I'm just suddenly going to turn into like a racist? Come on. Coon problems. Got some video here for you. There's a woman in Washington State. She's got a problem. She's got a real problem. In fact, she's got coon problems. She fed a coon. And I don't know. Look, if I'm so lucky as to open up my back porch and find a raccoon, I very well may make it a sandwich. I might do that. He's a visitor. He's cute. Did you ever see him? They got hands. They got little, like they shake your hand if you want it. So I'm all for feeding the animals, even though I know you're not supposed to. Don't feed the animals, they say. But remember, I got these rules. I got these rules about where I'm going to live. I am never going to live anywhere where there is an animal roaming free on my property that could kill and eat me. So I'm not going to live anywhere where there's crocodiles. I'm not going to live anywhere where there's bears. I'm not going to live anywhere where there's wolves. Okay. So the furthest out I'll get is maybe a friendly little raccoon's going to come by and hang out. Maybe a fox, maybe a beaver, an armadillo. An armadillo. What are they called? No. Possum. That's it. Mr. Sad Possum will be coming by. Those are the kind of animals that I'm talking about when I say I feed the animals. Maybe even coyotes, but I'm not threatened by coyotes. But coyotes, I do understand how they could be a problem. All of a sudden you got a million coyotes. Yes, now you got a problem. But so a Washington State woman had to call 911 after being hounded by over 100 raccoons all at once. You got to see this video, right? If there's video of this, we got to see it. Is there video? You're going to make me watch an ad first before we get our coon on? All right, we're going to skip ahead. All right, here, let's watch this. This is Washington State woman. This is from the AP's website. I didn't see this earlier, but might be fun to watch. Okay. So this is the woman's yard. She had to call the police to come out and rescue her because her house was surrounded by these raccoons and they were crawling on the roof and in the walls and trying to break in and all of this stuff simply because she admitted that she had been feeding them fairly regularly over the last couple of years. Now, at first, she was only feeding them a couple at a time, and they would come by, and she'd be like, oh, look, you brought a friend, and how isn't that cute? But then recently, within the last couple of weeks, they started showing up in waves. Like their cousins from out of town showed up. Like they heard that this was the best party going, and, everybody showed up. And then slowly, over the last couple of weeks, she said it built to well over 100 raccoons are showing up every day looking for food. And here's the problem. She can't feed 100 plus raccoons, so now they're getting pissed. And that's why she had to call the police. All right, let's look at this. This lady's having some real cocoon problems. Why do I want to call them cocoons? Here we go. Let's watch this.
So 35 years ago, you first started feeding some raccoons, and then when all of a sudden did it explode like this?
6 weeks
ago. All right, wait a second. Can we not hear her? She stands there.
35 years ago, you first...
All right, 35 years ago, she says now. Okay, in this video, 35 years ago, she started feeding raccoons, and now it's a problem.
5 years ago, you first started feeding some raccoons, and then when all of a sudden did it explode?
Look at all these little trash bandits. I would be in heaven as long as, again, they didn't all get mad. Because, boy, I'll tell you, you think it's bad when humans get into a mob and they stop thinking for themselves and start doing the whole mob thing? Yeah, it's bad when humans do it. It's even scarier when raccoons do it because they got claws. And then maybe one raccoon couldn't take you down, but I bet you 10 could. I bet you 10 raccoons could eat you. Let's keep watching.
Explode like this.
6 weeks.
Look at that. Man, they rolling 10 deep. Look at all these raccoons just showing up looking for a free meal.
6 weeks ago.
Oh, that is just awesome. Look at these little bastards. Aw, come on. They are cute, though, right? We like our raccoons. Is this a Midwestern thing? Because we got a lot of raccoons in the Midwest around the Great Lakes. I mean, I grew up with raccoons. I was fascinated by them. I always thought they were super friendly and like, the most exotic of the animals that you were going to find in Chicago. How's that? Like in Chicago, you got rats and stray dogs. You don't get a lot of deer in Chicago. You don't get a lot of fox, maybe a squirrel. You certainly don't get a rabbit. A rabbit you find in the suburbs. But even in Chicago, because they're trash bandits and they love the alleys, you even had raccoons. It was just always cool. Look at them. They're so awesome. All right, that's going to do it. There you go. Washington State woman. She got herself in a little bit of trouble. So I don't know. Maybe don't feed your raccoons or whatever. Honestly, I think that's really just that's a litmus test as to who you are. You're either horrified by all those raccoons showing up every day, or you buy a Sam's membership because now you're buying 100-pound bags of raccoon feed. Two kinds of people. All right, what else do we have here? Let's see. The raccoon stories. How about Aaron Rodgers? Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. We talk about Aaron Rodgers because Robert Saleh, the former head coach of the New York Jets, was unceremoniously dismissed on Monday by Woody Johnson, owner of said New York Jets. The rumors went a little bit nuts. You got Craig Carton over there on Breakfast Ball claiming a Shefty quote as his basis and other inside information. Carton says, here's how it went down. They decided to demote Nathaniel Hackett, the offensive coordinator and play caller. They decided to demote him, even though he's Aaron Rodgers' best friend. As what Robert Saleh wanted to do. Woody Johnson then apparently let Aaron Rodgers know that that's what Robert Saleh was thinking about doing. And Aaron Rodgers said, yeah, no, my buddy is not being demoted, and you can just go ahead and fire Robert Saleh. And Robert Saleh was fired after, just a couple hours after a meeting in which they were all on the same page about Nathaniel Hackett no longer being the primary play caller. So that's interesting. So of course the rumor mill starts up. Well, Aaron Rodgers got him fired. It's a broken organization. All of this stuff was said about him. So Aaron Rodgers does a weekly sit down with Pat McAfee, and it's always interesting. But we were all waiting for yesterday. So here's what Aaron Rodgers had to say yesterday about all the rumors surrounding. Hold on. I'm not going to make you listen to the whole thing. Of course not. That would be insane. So let me cue this up. Cue this up to where Aaron Rodgers begins talking about the rumors and all of that. And okay, so here. Now they're going to make you wait. Listen to it. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let's just listen to this. I might fast forward and jump ahead, but let's hear how Aaron Rodgers responds to the accusations that he just got his coach fired because he's an old man who sucks at football and is too frail of ego to admit it. Okay, here we go.
Built, and then you either decided for a long time to kill everything you. Okay, here we go. This is a big deal, Aaron. I just kind of laid it all out. The narrative that has been built quickly, and I think this is what happens with your life for everything you do. There's a narrative that is built, and then you either decided for a long time to kill him with indifference and not answer a narrative, or whenever you came on our program and started doing as such and started opening up more to everybody, it was like you started like kind of nipping things in the bud that have been growing for a long time. Right now, the narrative that's growing around you is that you got Coach Saleh fired because you hate Coach Saleh. You didn't give him a hug, okay? You went to Egypt and you hate the guy. Now, I would love to offer you the floor to kind of explain how yesterday went down, your thoughts on it all, and how you think we got to this point that we're at with the New York Jets organization in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was a day that reminds you of the simple fact that all of us who played know all too well, and that's that it's a tough business. It's a beautiful profession. It's incredible. It's done so much for our lives, but it's also a really tough business. I love Coach Sala. We have a very solid relationship. We have since, I met him in 2020.
All right, just let me jump in here for a second because I don't want to just let him ramble on unencumbered. He's good. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you think he's cool and calm in the pocket. You think he's stress-free under pressure in a game. Look at him here. He is dialed in like a true sociopath, like a dude who is just a narcissist of the highest order. He is not making this at all about what was asked. The direct question was, are you involved? That's what Pat was trying to be nice. And, Pat's trying to be nice and let him just... What he was asked was, were you involved in this? They said you got him fired. Is that true? And what does he do? He just coolly dials in and starts talking about this man, this human who lost his job. Yeah, we know he lost his job. We want to know why. No. Let's talk about his kids and what his kids must be going through in school. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers is good.
21 and had a nice conversation when they came and visited us for joint practices. He was a big reason why I came to the Jets. I felt like the team, was a solid team. Had a relationship with Coach Hackett, obviously, and I really liked Coach Sala. Everything that Matt LaFleur said about him, the few interactions I've had, the times that we went against him, I just had a lot of respect for him. And so, it was just a reminder yesterday how tough the business is. I think what people can forget in this is not only is Robert fantastic human being and a damn good football coach, he's also a family man. He's got 7 kids. He's got an incredible wife. And the business of football can be hard, not just on those of us who are playing.
Oh, my God, you condescending twat. We all understand this, and maybe that's another conversation to be had. But this conversation is about you and your perceived outsized power within the Jets organization. It was a direct question. And you are seeking cover in the idea that this guy is a family man and that we shouldn't even be talking about this because he's got children. That's so disingenuous and so schmarmy. And it's just so incredibly and professionally delivered by an absolute apex sociopath. That's what this guy is.
Playing and coaching and doing personnel things and ownership, obviously. But it's tough on the families. Oh. And I've got to know Robert's family over the last couple of years, and especially one of his kids, Adam. Adam's my little throwing buddy from training camp. Love Adam. He's an incredible, incredible kid. And
you don't need to be bringing up his kids. Leave his kids out of this, man. You are the one. He is warning all of us that we've got to take extra special care to remember that this is a family man and he's got kids and we don't want their kids to be involved in this at all. And speaking of his kids, I think of his young pie-eyed Bobby and how we used to throw the... He's doing it. This is, if you don't see this kind of Connie behavior, my God, is he a narcissist? And it's not just because he was a Packer and I hate the Packers. He is a narcissist and a sociopath. Also a really good quarterback. You can, all 3 things can be true.
So I'm thinking there's obviously a lot of emotions, but you think about the family and the kids as much as, the people you love, your own family, who is the coaching staff and the players. And
what do you, your own family, which is the coaching staff. Why does he say that? Aaron Rodgers' own family won't talk to him. Aaron Rodgers' own family hasn't talked to him in like a decade. He ain't know nothing about family. He doesn't give a fuck about family. And yet here he is trying to wedge his complicity in whatever ended up happening with Robert Saleh. He's trying to somehow wedge the children as what? What do they call these shields? Human shields? From him taking it. The question is simple, man. The question is simple. Did they threaten to demote your buddy Nathaniel Hackett, and in return, you got the head coach fired? Is that or is that not how it happened? Don't tell me about the struggling kids of the coach that you just may have gotten fired, you disingenuous piece of garbage.
What they're all going through. So, anybody who's kind of championing this decision, I would just appeal to the humanity of the situation and remind you there's other people involved. And Adam has to go to school today, possibly, or this week. And hopefully there's...
He doesn't even know when kids go to school. Did you hear that? He was so uncomfortable with that. He still wants to use the emotional heartstring, the tugging of the poor son of the fired Jets coach has to go to school. And he's like, Adam's got to go to school this week. Or maybe not. I don't know how these normal things happen. What is school? I was a quarterback prodigy. I learned math in my garage. Such a weirdo. What? Maybe school is every day. I don't know. I believe that's how it used to be.
To school and remind you there's other people involved. And Adam has to go to school today, possibly, or this week. And hopefully there's no, kids with poor parents who are making snide side comments to him. It's just a reminder there's a lot of things involved in this. As far as any of the ridiculous allegations out there, I'm not going to spend more than one sentence in response to it, and that is that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that
I resent the... Come on. I never... Oh my God. Football quarterbacks, they're the war.
Have false, and that I resent any of those accusations because they're patently false. And it's interesting the amount of power that people think that I have, which I don't. But I love Robert. And
denying absolute power is absolutely a thing that someone who controls and has absolute power would do. It's funny how powerful everybody thinks I am. Wink, wink. All right, there you have it. Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, here is the real kick in the nuts to this whole story. This is really why we're talking about it. Was an excuse to show that clip of him, and an excuse for me to rant on my hatred of Aaron Rodgers. But this morning, so remember, I'll walk you through it again. So Nathaniel Hackett's the problem. We need to demote Nathaniel Hackett, said Jets coach at the time, Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh brings that to the upper management on Monday and says, we need to demote Nathaniel Hackett. And they said, but Nathaniel Hackett's Aaron Rodgers' best friend. That's probably not going to go over well with Aaron because you know how difficult he can be. I'm just assuming that was something they'd say. So, of course, that's when it gets to Aaron Rodgers that Nathaniel Hackett is being demoted, and Nathaniel Hackett is like, Rodgers, do something. And Rodgers calls Woody Johnson, and then all of a sudden, the guy who wanted to demote Nathaniel Hackett has now been fired. That's Robert Saleh. The defensive coordinator is now elevated to be the head coach. Don't know his name. Not sure I should spend the time to commit it to memory. And all's well in the world. Then this morning, the Jets announced that Nathaniel Hackett has been demoted. Ta-da! After all of this, Nathaniel Hackett has, in fact, been stripped of his play-calling duties with the New York Jets. So we'll see. It's fun. It's just a funny story. All right, what else do we have here? Anything else that we need to get into today? Story about... we can do that later. Okay, I'll leave you with this. This is weird. Let's watch this video. I shared this on my Twitter account yesterday, but I really want to talk to people about it because it's so weird. So this was going around on video. This is I guess from an Elvis movie. I mean, it's definitely an Elvis movie. But I want you to watch it. I'm not gonna pre-sell it or anything like that. I wish there was a better, or I should say, I wish I had a better copy of it. But whatever. I think you'll still be able to see this. I don't know what this is. I don't think I've ever seen this movie, but I want to play it for you, and then we'll all talk about it, okay? Because Man, I mean, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. Here you go. This is a video again. It went viral, and people were like, "What the hell is this?" So here it is from some Elvis movie. Let's watch. I don't even know what Elvis movie this is from. Elvis movies are stupid. Here we go. Let's watch.
So I can see. Hold it, baby, now stay right where you are. Hey, little girl, you ought to be a movie star. All right. Hey, little girl, come on and dance with me. You're about the cutest thing I ever did see. Hey, little girl, I'd like to take you home.
The hell was that? You guys, I mean, how weird is that? That was like something that your grandparents, would have gone to the movies and said, "Oh, it was wonderful." Anything weird happened in the movie? Nope. Everything was totally normal. Like that is obviously, by 2024 standards, an incredibly gross thing happening there. It's Elvis Presley, a grown-ass man, talking about how much he's attracted to and how much he wants to do grown-up stuff with an obvious child. The song is even called Little Girl. And this little girl, this child, she's delightful. She's probably dead. She probably lived to be 80 and died. That's probably how old this is. But she's going for it. I mean, if you can avoid being super creeped out by it and you just actually watch that little girl's performance, it's like, oh, good for her. She was really going for it. I hope that she wasn't molested too much in Hollywood, because my God, this is one of the weirdest things. Hey, little girl. And then it gets more. We'll play more of it. We're going to watch more of it. I just wanted to stop here in the middle, just so that we could all acknowledge that our grandparents were fucking weirdos, man. They were into things.
Come on, I want you for my very own. All right now.
All right, also, what is going on here? What is she, a slave girl? What is he? What is this, a harem? I can't even tell. I can't tell what time period this is supposed to be, because it's just so schlockily done. He's got green pants. He's dressed kind of like a matador. Maybe is that a clue? Was there an Elvis Matador movie? He is straight up seducing this 12-year-old. And this was a thing that they put in the movie, and there was probably an editing session, and nobody blinked twice at it.
Girl, you better hang on tight. I want you to swing it to the left.
Okay, so we're done. All right. Don't tell her she's looking fine, Elvis. All right, I just can't anymore with that. That's such a joyful little girl. You can't blame her at all. She has no idea what the context of this is. But he knew. Elvis knew. But then again, Elvis liked him young, right? Wasn't that his problem? I'm just saying. Wasn't that his problem? Wasn't like Priscilla? Wasn't she like 8 when he fell in love with her? Hey man, who's that toddler? Was that how it went down? No, that's just honestly with the stuff that we know about Elvis now, and You know, the whole Priscilla thing. And then he's doing that little, but to allow that to be a thing in a movie where it wasn't, nobody blinked twice, you know, but to allow that to be a thing in a movie, it speaks to an overall normalization of something that we today find absolutely socially repugnant, and that is child exploitation. It is anything that takes lightly the idea of either sexualizing or sexually exploiting children, right? That's way more, we consider that way more of a crime in 2024 than apparently we did in 1954. Folks, I hate to say it, but that is what we call progress. Humanity is getting better. We really are. I know a lot of it's bullshit. I don't like paper straws either. And enough of these things are going to ire us, and we're going to reject them. But every now and again, something happens. The idea that that was a mainstream movie starring one of the biggest box office and recording stars in the history of the world, Elvis Presley. The idea that that was a big, and I don't even know what movie it is, but it was a major film. And nobody blinked twice at him, a man at this point who was probably in his late 20s singing to a 10-year-old, "Hey, little girl, shake that body my way." Ooh, that's a normalization. When did it all change? Brooke Shields, remember Brooke Shields? And that was one from like Gen X. Maybe we remember this. Brooke Shields was in the movie Pretty Baby in like 1978. It's basically child porn. You can't show it. Brooke Shields did a nude scene in a movie when she was 9. And it wasn't like a nude scene. It wasn't innocent either. Like, you could make the artistic argument, well, it's young rural girls in the French countryside bathing in a stream. No! Brooke Shields at 9 years old was presented as a prostitute, as a child prostitute, and stripped naked. And there was sort of an uproar. It wasn't taken out of the movie, but there was sort of an uproar. And I think it built from there. And I think that's why you can't remake that Elvis movie. Hey, little girl. No, very weird. Fast Outdoor Sign says, who thought that this was appropriate? I'll tell you who thought in 1954 that was appropriate. Everybody. Nobody would have thought twice. Again, progress. Like it or not, we're becoming better people. Humanity is becoming better. I know it seems like we are in our darkest hour right now. But that's not the case. We are getting better. And it's my pleasure to point these small micro instances out from time to time. Hey, little girl. God, I feel bad for that little girl, too. And did she become anything? Like, did that little girl, that little girl grew up to be Meredith Baxter Burney. I don't know. I just went with a random one. That was pretty good, though. I think I got the timing right and the age and all that. She could have grown up to be Meredith Baxter Burney. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Again, I'll direct your attention to the tip jar below us. If you want to help out, that'd be great. Love you guys. You're the best. We'll be back tomorrow for a Friday final show of the week. The Rant every day at around noon o'clock, 12-ish. Being closer to 12 just about every day. So, don't think that you can slow roll your way into this and show up around 20 after and, be all caught up to speed, because that ain't the truth. See you tomorrow. All right, I love you guys. You guys are the best. That was fun. I got stuff to do. No game again. That's right. It's Thursday. You're probably thinking it's game night. It's not game night. Bye week. I got screwed. It's such a mess. So this is their bye week. So there is I don't get to go to my kids' game. So there's not going to be any update tomorrow, which, I'm sure is going to be fine by you guys. All right. We'll talk tomorrow. See ya. Love you. Bye.